It's look, when you read a great Stephen King novel, you're not blaming Stephen King for the car that came to life and killed people, are you? It's almost as if like you were to put a bright spotlight behind a piece of paper, you would see the spotlight shining through the paper. The paper doesn't just block the light entirely. True, but remember that scene in The Invisible Man where he's wearing bandages all over his face and he's wearing sunglasses and a hat? He starts unwrapping his head, and then there's nothing underneath. That's sort of what I mean to women. That's sort of the impression that you give off from what I've heard. It's almost as if you're saying like, oh, you went out of your way to go down the Interstate 5. No, that's like a straight shot. You're almost saying as if like your level of attractiveness is Magic Mountain and I'm going down to Anaheim and then I'm like, oh, maybe I'll swing by and ride, Batman the Ride up at Magic Mountain before I go down to Disneyland. It doesn't make any sense. Let me ask you a question. If I were to, you use Google, right? If I were to go into that little window and just type in actor, okay, and press search or enter, either one, interchangeable. When would you come up? There would be millions, if not billions, of unique searches. Where do you think Brett Gelman? If I had made a choice
I was never born.
to just be a computer programmer, would I be happier? Look, when I go to the movies, I don't want to see these big shoot 'em ups with robots versus people. It's like who's going to win, the robot with the sword or the person who's driving around in a car. You know what I mean? What does that have to say about our lives? Yeah, I drive around in a car, and it would be fun to see a robot with a sword. Yeah, okay, maybe escapist entertainment is cool because it mirrors the fantasies I have in my mind where I have these strongman fantasies about, it would be so cool to battle a robot with a car. Yeah, if I were to look you up on celebritynetworth.com, what would it say? Let me ask you a question, Brett. If you were to go into your local Walmart, okay. And you were in the market for, let's say, a tiny miniature fan. We're in the throes of Augie Doggy in the summer, and you need to beat the heat.
Augie Doggy.
You need to cool off. Okay. And so those tiny little fans, they're battery operated that you can,
that you keep in your pocket. Yeah.
Sure. Now, if you were to go into Walmart. Okay, and you have a certain expectation of how much that will cost. What do you think that'll cost? If we were to open a bank together and there were two things that the bank promised. You give us $10, we'll give you $500 a year from now, and we'll let you go inside the vault anytime you want and look at the money. Is that a good business plan? So you're saying that when a waiter comes up to you and says, would you like some bread and butter? Sometimes you're going to say yes, sometimes you're going to say no. That doesn't make any sense. Step outside and you were to see the sky is blue and the grass is green, would you be questioning that, saying, am I actually seeing what I'm seeing? No. Have you ever read a poem? Have you ever read a poem?
Yeah.
And have you ever seen it ascribed to anonymous? And does that make you go, oh, I don't like this poem anymore? Let me ask you a question. If you were to walk outside and see, wow, the sky is blue, the grass is green, are you going to take a survey of your neighborhood?
Why do you keep coming up with this, sky is blue, grass is green thing? It has nothing to do with what we're talking about here.
I'm just saying that the reality is what the reality is. Can I ask you a question?
You can't just listen and respond.
If you were to go to a dance recital.
Yeah.
Okay. You've done that before, right? You're a lover of the arts.
Of course.
Would you call the dancers over after the performance? Maybe you make your way backstage. Maybe you're friends with the director. The director says, oh, Brett, do you have any notes? Would you say to that dance troupe or that ensemble, hey, I don't like the way you twist and turn? You were to go to the Milton Bradley and say, hi, I'd like to change the rules of Clue. I want to make it whoever thinks of the murderer and the murder weapon and the room in which the murder took place, whoever thinks of that first should be the winner. Milton Bradley would look at you like you were a fucking asshole. Remember when my dad died? Ha 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 ha. It's like, hey, I murdered you, but think of the way you treated me.